You may be familiar with trees that lose their leaves in the fall and then grow them back in the spring. However, this is just one seasonal growth cycle seen in plants. Let's first go over what seasonal growth cycles are before we look at the three different types of seasonal cycles. Seasonal growth cycles can be influenced by several factors, including temperature, amount of water, and amount of daylight. Plants regulate their developmental processes depending on these factors. Seasonal growth cycles are determined by where plants live, how they reproduce, and the role they play in their environments. Many common garden plants only grow for one season and then need to be replanted the next. These plants are called annuals. You may be familiar with the term annual from things such as an annual checkup or annual charity event. The term annual means once per year. Annual plants are those whose entire life cycle occurs within one growth season. The season may last from a few weeks to a few months. During this time, the plant will develop roots, stems, and leaves before it dies. Also during this time, the plant will produce seeds. Seeds are the only thing that allow for new annual plants to grow the next season. The seeds are dormant, meaning they are not active, until the correct time of year during which they will develop and go through their entire life cycles. A specific group of annual plants is ephemeral plants. These are unique in that they not only live out their entire life cycles in one season, but the season is incredibly short. The word ephemeral means quickly fading. These plants can be found in the desert following a rainstorm or in a forest or a field in early spring before dying off. Examples of annual plants with which you may be familiar include many weeds, vegetables, grains, and wildflowers. Biennial events happen every 2 years. The prefix bi may be more familiar because of words like bicycle and bifocals. A bicycle has 2 wheels while bifocals have 2 focal points. Biennials are plants whose entire life cycle occurs within 2 years. In the first year, these plants are only vegetative, meaning that they don't produce reproductive structures. Rather, these plants will grow roots below ground and a small rosette of leaves near the surface. This growth occurs during a traditional growing season, such as the wet or warm season. At the end of the first growth season, the above-ground part of the plant may die back. However, the roots remain. During the second year of growth, the plant stem elongates and flowers and seeds are produced. Biennial plants in the second year of growth appear to be more like what you may think of them as. For example, carrots, foxglove, and parsley are all biennial plants. During the first year of growth, foxglove looks like this. You can see the small amount of leaves near the surface, making the foxglove look less than impressive. However, during the second year of growth, the foxglove looks like this. You can see that it looks like a more traditional wildflower and is much more noticeable than the first year growth. Biennial plants produce seeds during the second year of growth, which will later become new plants the following year, perpetuating this 2-year life cycle. Some plants do not die every year or every other year. These are commonly trees and shrubs. These perennials persist for many growing seasons. Perennial plants must have structures that allow for them to survive through different seasons. This sometimes means that the plants must survive extreme temperature or water changes. Perennials can be broken into 2 main categories, woody and herbaceous. Let's first look at herbaceous plants. These are herbs, such as coneflower and basil, which have a limited flowering period, normally during the summer, and survive the dormant season, normally the winter, through a variety of adaptations. Normally, the top part of the plant will die back or become dormant in the winter, and the underground part will survive. This can be done by maintaining roots, rhizomes, bulbs, or tubers. The other type of perennial plant is woody, which includes trees. There are 2 main categories of woody perennials, deciduous and coniferous. You may already be familiar with these seasonal growth patterns, but let's take a look at both. Deciduous trees are those that lose their leaves all at once. This is seen in many trees in the fall. The leaves of trees may first turn vibrant shades of yellow, red, and orange before falling off the tree. The tree will then grow back new leaves in the spring when the environment is much better for growth and reproduction. The second type of woody perennial is conifers. Coniferous trees do not lose all of their leaves at once. In fact, you may not even think of their leaves as leaves because they are generally described as pine needles. Conifers are also called evergreen trees because of the adaptation of not losing leaves all at once. It is important to note that conifers do lose their needles, but it is done throughout the year rather than all at once like deciduous trees. Seasonal growth cycles are influenced by a variety of environmental factors and require different adaptations by plants. We first looked at annuals, which live their entire lives during one growing season. This season may range from just a few weeks to a few months. Biennials are plants that take 2 years to go through the entire life cycle. The first year, the plant is just roots and leaves that remain close to the ground. However, during the second year of growth, the plant will develop flowers and seeds. The last type of seasonal growth cycle we went over was perennials, which live for many growing seasons. This group includes both deciduous and coniferous woody plants. Remember that deciduous plants lose all of their leaves at once, normally in the fall, and then grow back new leaves in the spring. Coniferous trees do not lose all of their leaves and are often called evergreens because of this. All of these life cycles help trees survive and reproduce in their specific environments.